Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of our Experts of the Americas series. I'm Valentina Sader, the Deputy Director for Impactful Programming and Brazil Lead at the Adrian Irish Latin America Center here at the Atlantic Council. Today, I'm delighted to be with Leticia Ossa Daza. Maria-Leticia is the founding partner of Willkie Farr's Latin America practice and a partner in the Corporate and Financial Services Department. She has extensive experience advising clients in financial institutions, technology, infrastructure, and consumer good, among other priorities and topics. Among many accomplishments, Maria-Leticia is widely recognized among the top 100 lawyers for Latin America, top 100 female lawyers, and the list goes on and on. Leticia, it's great to have you join us today. Thank you so much for coming all the way from New York to meet us and to be here with us today. As much of your background and very similar to your background, our conversation will focus on gender inclusion, technological infrastructure, and cross-border transactions in the United States, Europe, and Latin America. Welcome. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Valentina. It's a pleasure to be here. And, those are some of my favorite topics. So I'm glad, we got a chance to discuss about them.
I am very excited for this conversation, so let's dive in. My first question, Leticia, is you are an example of female leadership. And I wanted to ask you, for myself, but also for our audience, what do you see as the main barriers to greater female representation in leadership positions, especially in the legal industry that you are representing and the Americas more broadly? And if you could elaborate on some systemic or cultural challenges that you've seen and factors that you've seen as pushing for this kind of disparity, I think that would be very helpful for us to understand the legal field in particular.
Well, thank you, Valentina, for that question. So, look, I think we're still in a world that unconscious stereotypes and bias are still very present. And, inadequate access to support networks, right, which are so important for the advancement of your career, inflexible workplace, even if we have made some progress on that, harassment are just some of the main barriers that I will say not only apply to the legal industry, but just in general. And that is something that, we still working on to reach also gender equality. Just to give you an example on the cultural aspects and stereotypes that we're still facing, and this is a personal one. I had a very complicated divorce, and one of the arguments that actually the lawyer of my ex-husband used was that I was very successful and I had a very successful career, and she used that to question my capacity and willingness to be a mother. And those are some of the things that when you think about that, you're like, well, wait, that means that I cannot have a successful career and want to be a mother if that's what I want as a woman. And of course, the judge didn't go there, but, that was just 10 years ago. Right? And we're still facing that. And those are some of the things that culturally we have to change. And on the legal industry, we're still challenged by the amount of women that are equity partners. I think the U.S. has made an enormous progress on that. There is a lot that needs to be done in the rest of the Americas. When you look at law firms in just like Chile, Mexico, Colombia, even if Colombia, I think, is one of the, or Brazil are one of the two countries that have, more representation, you're still dealing with that. Also, when we talk about some of the challenges, it's like having really a sponsor that will help you advance your career. Well, that is also something that you're looking for the role model, and more we have women on leadership positions, like more we can just see, okay, I can make it, right? At Willkie, we believe in diversity, and we have been making like a lot of investment on that, on education, on programs, on making sure that that unconscious bias, we know where it's coming from. I was elected to the executive committee this year. And for me, that's a great honor, but also a great responsibility, not only as a woman, but also as the first Latina to be part of the executive committee at a big law firm.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing your personal, experiences in this front too. But I think that it's very interesting that you mentioned also your leadership role in the executive committee of Willkie Farr. And from your perspective, I think this is a clear example, but what are some of the best practices or initiatives that governments as well as the private sector in the Americas have successfully implemented to promote gender inclusion and support the professional growth of women? But also, what are some of the other opportunities that we have to actually push this agenda further?
Sure. Look, I think in general, just developing, policies and programs that will help us to understand where the barriers are and how to face them and how to get educated on them is key, right? But also, for example, having laws, of course, that prohibit discrimination, right, like pay discrimination, are really important. One of the things, and that is really raising the awareness, so education, right? If we cover that bar, that I think will just start generating a change, right? The flexibility also in the workplace. And having that, look, during the pandemic, I think across the world, women were responsible for nearly 3/4 of unpaid care work on average, right? And that undermines their ability to participate in the paid work. But also if I write a column for La República, a newspaper in Colombia, and I wrote about this, just saying, how is it possible that women are not tired when they have to work if you have a paid work? You have also unpaid work. And it's approximately, I think the average is 4.5 hours, extra hours at the top of, the ones that you are already working outside home, that you need to take care of, right? Like the house, the children, if you have children. So that is creating like a huge also mental health issue. Because it's normal that we're exhausted after all that work. So really helping women through governments and policies that help them, having like a better care system, whether it's for the children or whether it's for the elder, that they usually are also the ones that take care of, will be really key in generating a change so they can, be more successful in the paid work they are doing. And also, and I think that changed also a little bit during the pandemic is just like also dividing that work with the rest of the family.
I think that one of the mentions that you made about raising awareness to this issue is also very important, to raise awareness not only to the women so they understand that this is an issue, but also to the men so they understand and change their behavior as well and help foster this change on their side as well, right? A lot of the promotion of this kind of behavior is coming not only from women but also from men. So it's very important that this awareness raising aspect of this work is done as a whole of society, right? That everyone is aware of.
I completely agree, and that's what I think. That education is so important. Educating, just like since for our kids,
yes,
right, at a very young age, so they see that the different things that you do at work. At home or at work that are not, only for women or only for men, but that everybody in the family participates, right? That would be really important. But another point is really closing also the gender gaps in some fields like science, technology, engineering, math. And on that, governments, but also the private sector, have a lot to do. Just to mention two initiatives that have worked really well is Women to Code, and also the New Bank initiative, in particular in Brazil, but also in the rest of Latin America, that is called Yes, She Codes.
Yes.
And that will be, huge also to having some industries that are usually more torn to have men to just start having more women.
Yes, absolutely. We should have more of these initiatives all throughout and through different industries. Changing the subject, actually thinking about these industries, you have extensive experience advising clients on the technology and infrastructure spaces. How do you perceive, Leticia, the current state of technological infrastructure and innovation adoption in Latin America? And what are some of the challenges or opportunities that this represents for businesses looking to invest in the region?
Look, there is a lot that has to be done on infrastructure and technology just in general in Latin America. So the majority of the rural population in Latin America has no access to internet, just to start there. So all those improvements have to be done. And I think through the changes that were generated by COVID are really pushing that to happen as soon as possible. So governments are really working with the private sector in it. And I think, is huge the amount that the operators in Latin America are investing. I think, some of the estimates is that operators in Latin America will invest more than 70 billion in CapEx between 2021 and 2025 just to develop the system and the infrastructure to be able to provide 5G more specifically. Mm-hmm. So there is a lot to be done, but at the same time, there are great opportunities. If you look around, all the fintech, the different projects, the unicorns that you see in the region that are focusing on that, or also on artificial intelligence, are huge. So I think this is a great opportunity to have Europe and also the Americas, the U.S. just helping in developing this infrastructure so we can get there.
Yes, absolutely. And then with that, you also have the regulatory challenges with it, but this is definitely an opportunity for the region to further develop and for greater cooperation, not only with the United States and Europe, but also among Latin American countries. On that front, it's impressive that you also have experience studying and practicing law across the United States, Europe, and Latin America. So you're very well positioned to talk about this issue, including in large and complex cross-border transactions. What concrete steps can governments on both sides of the Atlantic take to incentivize greater bi-regional investment in particular?
I was very lucky to start my career in Paris. So I went to college there, and when I started working at Willkie in our Paris office, it was 2003, where all the European directives on prospectus and on the financial services were being implemented. So just seeing how, the European Union and the different regulators were working together in creating a common set of rules really gave me a different perspective. And they were doing that in all the different aspects, right, of law. That experience, I think, will help us a lot in Latin America for the different regional organizations that we have, even, for the initiative of MILA, which is a stock exchange, right? Having the experience that Euronext is having could be very, very interesting. But also, I think, taxation, all the treaties. Spain has been very strong on that, and the different structures that they have are very commonly used in many of the deals we do that involve Europe and Latin America. So those are some of the things that governments can help and do. It has been very clear since Spain started the presidency of the European Council, just to say, we really want to strengthen our relationship with Latin America and help on that. Another organization is CEAPI, which is a business organization with entrepreneurs meet every year, but also during the year, but in particular like once a year, to just discuss how they can work better together. Because when you look at the Latin American companies, a lot of them are multi-Latina, so you have the regional aspect, but also many of them have operations in the US and operations in Europe. So that that just facilitating and just like having regulators working together to facilitate those the regulations or treaties can really help in just like exchanging knowledge, but also in creating a common marketplace.
I think that with that very positive overlook also in the opportunities that you have laid out, not only in the gender space, but also in the infrastructure, in the technological space, in the cooperation also, the transatlantic cooperation, which is what the Atlantic Council really stands for, I think that we can wrap. And I wanted to thank you, Leticia, for the time, for taking the opportunity of coming to DC to actually have this conversation with us. And I'm sure this is the first of many that we'll be having. So thank you so much. Thank you to our listeners for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you, Valentina, and thank you, everybody.
Thank you.